with Isabella Milano. Un momento. Un momento.
Hello everyone and welcome back to the first episode of Un Momento for the 2024 year. I hope you have all enjoyed your holidays. Today I am so honored to be introducing Dr. Elaine Choi, a fantastic conductor, educator, adjudicator, chorister, and collaborative pianist from Toronto. Elaine currently holds positions as Director of Music at the Timothy Eaton Memorial Church and Artistic Director of Pax Christi Chorale. In 2018, Elaine founded Babel, an SATB choral ensemble with a mission to bridge cultures through choral music. The ensemble has worked with more than 200 musicians in Hong Kong, Taiwan, and Macau. As a music educator, Elaine was a sessional lecturer at the University of Toronto from 2015 to 2023 as conductor of the soprano-alto chorus. Currently, Elaine is active as an adjudicator and a clinician for various community events. Elaine was a guest clinician at the 2022 Bangkok International Choral Festival in Thailand and is an advocate for Chinese orchestral and choral music. She was the conductor of the Toronto Chinese Orchestra from 2010 to 2017 and currently continues as guest conductor and educational outreach representative. Elaine holds a doctorate of musical arts and a master's in music performance of choral conducting from the University of Toronto under the tutelage of Dr. Hilary Affelstadt and Dr. Doreen Rao. Elaine is a four-time recipient of the Elmer Eisler Fellowship in Choral Conducting and was a finalist in the Sir Ernest Macmillan Foundation Fellowship Award in Choral Conducting. She's the 2018 recipient of the prestigious William and Waters Graduating Award. Last month, in December of 2023, Dr. Choi was awarded the Leslie Bell Prize for Choral Conducting on behalf of the Ontario Arts Council. In today's episode, I sit down with Elaine along with my friend and classmate from the University of Toronto's Voice Performance Program, Ms. Jeremy Shen. Take a listen to our discussion about the life of a musician with more than one role in the music industry. Hi everyone! Welcome back to Un Momento with Isabella Milano. We've been gone for a bit of time, but I am so pleased and honored to be joined by my guest, Dr. Elaine Choi, as well as co-hosting along my colleague and my classmate, Jeremy Shen, who is a second-year voice performance student at the University of Toronto. Elaine, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you so much for having me and having a little tea together today.
Yeah, it's a tea party. Yeah. Jeremy, would you like to start us off?
Yeah, sure. So, Dr. Choi, do you want to share more about what's actually your job, or what do you do actually?
Yeah, that's a great question. There's a lot going on all the time, and I really love it. I love having a lot of different varieties to my daily life, to be honest. I like to call it a little bit of a mosaic career. And if you think about a mosaic, like a stained glass, there's just so much color to make one big picture. And I am so honored and blessed that I feel like that's my career right now. So a quick glimpse of what I do. I'm the director of music here at Timothy Eaton Memorial Church, where we're filming today. And I've been here for 13 years now. So I oversee a music program that is in addition to our Sunday church services. We also have a lot of programmings for our community, for our congregation. We also have a lot of choristers, anywhere from 4 years old to 90 years old. We have amateur musicians, but also professional musicians, a band, and a lot of concerts and events. So I really love my time here. And additionally, I'm also the artistic director of Pax Christi Chorale, which is a 110 community choir of people that are just so passionate in making choral music. The choir really enjoyed doing substantial choral work, is what they said, but really bigger, larger choral work that often involve choir and orchestra. But we're also exploring a lot of diversity in programming as well. And then I need to take a little bit of a breath. I also have a choir that work with a choir called Babel, and the choir's mission is to bridge cultures through choral music. At this moment, we are especially passionate in bringing music of the Asian diaspora and exploring different languages, different cultures, and also what Asian countries are doing with choral music. So that group is going well, and it's a chamber choir of SATB ensemble. And then in addition to this, I'm also a freelance musician now. I do a lot of workshops and adjudications at music festivals, work with high school choirs, community choirs, different university. I just came back from Saskatchewan in Regina. I'm working with the University of Regina there. And I also am teaching privately for choral conducting students, especially in the undergraduate level and in the community level, where they just want a little bit more tips and tricks to connect with their choirs. So a lot going on.
Fantastic. We appreciate that you wear so many different hats and that you work so hard to bring music to the community and to do what you love.
Yeah.
Tell us about that process as a musical director here and also at Pax Christi. What does it take to put together those programs?
I think what works really well is I'm really truly passionate with putting programs together, and not just concert program. When we're talking about program, is the holistic part of the whole organization, building the community, making sure people feel a sense of ownership and a connectivity with their ensemble, with the choristers involved, with the audience members. So for me, I like to really think about inward, outward. So inward in terms of our choristers or in the church, what makes it important to them, what brings them together. As you said, I wear a lot of different hats, and I think different ensembles require different perspective and different thinking. When I'm wearing my church musician hat, I need to think about how my music can help connect the congregation with the scriptures, with the messages that the pastor is trying to do. When I'm wearing the hat as a community choir member, I need to think about why are these choristers so passionate about coming to rehearsal, and how do I continue to cultivate a learning and growing environment for everyone that feels meaningful and also really intentional. And when I'm wearing the hat of Babel, where bridging cultures is such an important mission, is how do we authentically learn about different cultures' music, but at the same time not just appropriating it, but really taking the time to learn the music. Additionally, when I'm putting together programming, I'm also thinking about the recipients, the audience members, the congregational members. How do they connect with the music? How do we bring music in addition to just performing, but really have an electric current almost, how do we connect with them through the music? So it's really hard to kind of just say it in a few sentences, and I probably ran on a little bit more already. But just being intentional in cultivating a really thoughtful environment is what I try to do. And it's so much more than just music.
Yes, yeah. Exactly. It's not as formulaic as people think. There's really a connection, human connection that you have to have there. And I love that your perspective and your approach changes depending on the group that you work with.
Yeah, absolutely. So, we met through University of Toronto, and while I'm a choral conductor there, I'm also a music educator. So when I'm going into doing workshops, I'm also thinking, in addition to the music making, how do we help build skills? How do we help bringing choral music into your life as a voice performance student, or student's life as a piano major, or whatever field it is? I always joke with some of my colleagues, and I'm really lucky to have really good friends that support each other through our choral music journey, is we're lucky if we get to be doing 20% of music, because there's so much administrative work to go with a life as a choral conductor. There's also so much work in personal skills and building that environment that is additional to just the music. So it's not just staying in our practice room and practice or studying scores all the time. It's really thinking big pictures, thinking about the vision.
Yes. Now, we obviously met at the soprano alto chorus where you had been at the University of Toronto for 8 years conducting that women's chorus. I would not have met the people that I met, and I would not have be standing, sitting here having a tea party with you if I hadn't been there. I made so many really important connections while I was there, and I'm so thankful to you for exposing me to so much beautiful music and performing it. It was really a treat. And if you could just tell us who or what are some of the influences that have brought you here today. I imagine there are very many, but just a few that you'd like to share with us.
Absolutely. So I came to choral conducting in university time, but I was very fortunate to have music in my life since before I remember. Honestly, my mom is a piano teacher, so I probably grew up listening to music in her womb, to be honest. But she's more than a piano teacher. She taught me how to play with music, not playing music, but play with music. In Cantonese, which Jeremy and I speak the same language, it's not just like tan kam or play music, but it's like wan. It's like wan is like games and toys. So I remember growing up, piano was like a toy to me, and I just had so much fun with it. And I think at that age, I started really loving music as a way to connect with people. That's how I built friendship. I remember duet partners or my friends and singing in choir or playing in orchestra. I also played a lot of different instruments growing up. I played violin and viola for a very long time. I played the erhu, yiwu, for a long time as well. And then later on, I played the clarinet and bassoon. And same thing, I think my mom fostered that curiosity with music, and she's like, oh, yeah, go and learn it. It does not matter whether music is too easy or too hard. She's like, just go and play it. So there's a sense of playfulness with music. And I remember going into university, there was a pressure of choosing which stream to go into. Do I go into performance? Do I go into education? I even considered the music and business program at Western, University of Western. Ended up doing my undergraduate degree in music education, which I love. I love my time there. And I remember in third year university, that was the year that I was exposed to various female conductors in the city. And in addition to being in choirs, that makes me love the form of choral music so much. These female conductors, and they are, some people are like Doreen Rao, who was a former conducting teacher of mine, Cynthia Paulos, Linda Beaupre, Lydia Adams, Eileen Baldwin. They're all Lori and Dalla, they're all like important music educators in our city. And it kind of made me realize, oh, I want to be like them. And they all come from different ways of connecting with people that I found very intriguing, and I was curious. So I remember at that time, the choral director at the university was Doreen Rao, Dr. Rao. And she was like, well, you should consider doing a master's degree in choral conducting. So I ended up doing that immediately. At the same time, I was teaching at schools, and I was a middle school teacher while I was doing a master's degree. So I was still exploring opportunity in music education. And shortly after that, I also started in church music. I am a Christian growing up, but it's not until Timothy Eaton here I started doing church music. The more I decided to do choral music, the more I was invested in it, and I ended up doing a doctorate degree with my mentor and my teacher, my supervisor, my everything, my idol, Dr. Hilary Alferstadt. She was the director of choral activities at the University of Toronto when I was pursuing my doctorate degree. She taught me so much of not just being a good choral conductor, but a good music educator, a kind and compassionate leader that is so intentional in, as I said, cultivating an environment where students can grow and learn and enjoy. I just remember the students all love choral music so much, and that was a really cool thing for me to witness, and I really want to learn from her on that. So these are some of the really big influence, but not just because I'm talking to you today. I do have to add, I think another part of the big influence that got me to where I am today or continue to grow are all the choristers I got to work with in the past. Being a choral conductor, you can't be a good choral conductor if you just put yourself in a practice room and work alone. I learn from everyone I get to make music with, and every single rehearsal to me is like a lesson. And whether people are professional choristers or first-time choral singer, there is something to learn. So I'll say you are all influence in my life that I'm so grateful for.
And we're so grateful for you.
Yes,
I want to
definitely.
have you here. Yeah, it's really touching and amazing to listen how all the influences and how people in choral music really has bring effects to our lives. Especially for me, I've been singing choirs for like 13-ish years. I think that it's very important that how people, when you are in choral music, are surrounding is very important. I really acknowledge that. I think that's really amazing. So speaking of like your degrees back in UFT, do you mind sharing a bit more of advice, or what do you have for students that want to pursue or actually pursue music? Like for example us, do you have any things to tell us?
Well, it's always funny to say advice. You know what, let's change it to, let me share a little bit of tips that I've learned along the way. And I would say, come back to me in 10 years, maybe I have something different to say. So it's a little bit of a journey thus far. I'm a little bit older than you all. So something that I've learned is that during undergraduate degree days, it felt like we are all kind of segregated into different streams. You're in voice performance, or you're in piano performance, you're in education, you're in musicology. But then it's not that black and white, and whatever stream you choose to be in does not define who you are. It's just at this moment you're choosing to spend time to explore more on that part. So for me, for example, my undergraduate degree was in music education. My master's degree ended up to be in performance, but without either, I would not be who I am. It's so funny. It's almost like when I was an undergrad as a music ed major, I had a little bit of defying thoughts in me that I'm like, I can play just as well as other performance major. And it had this like invisible competition within it. But then now that I'm older, looking back, it's like, why was it black and white back then? So that was one thing, is I really want to suggest everyone thinking outside of it. Just because of what stream you decide to pursue at this moment, it does not define who you are. And if anything, it's just giving you a little bit of focus and guide you at this moment. It does not dictate what you're going to be in the next 10, 20, 30 years. Another thing that I always like to say is career is not a linear path. I know that we are all people that want to achieve and want to have a goal and want to be motivated and work towards something. And that's something I really admire, and I have that as well. But at the same time, let's not be tunnel vision into chasing one goal. Just like a beautiful tree, there are a lot of branches, and you never know which branch is going to blossom with beautiful flowers. Another analogy I always like to say, there are always a saying is like, one door closed, another door open. I have experienced that as well, but I don't think it's one door closed, another door open. The truth is that there are always a lot of doors and a lot of windows. It's all up to you, up to everyone, to kind of poke their head into the door and be curious, try things. Just because you walk through it, of course you gotta commit to it just to see if it's a right fit. And sometimes that path is gonna lead to more doors and more windows. But if it doesn't work out, it's okay. You can also find other ways to do. So, as much as we all want to focus into a goal, which is important. We don't want to lose focus on that. Just be mindful that there are so many ways. I'll say, 10 years ago, if I tell myself that I'm gonna have a career that is piecemeal together, like a puzzle pieces, it would have worried me. I was like, what do you mean? Like, I want a 9 to 5 job, right? Like at this age of like being in late teens or early 20s, you're like, I want a stable job. And that's true. But at the same time, stability doesn't always come in a conventional way, especially when we choose to do music. And just because whoever is listening or yourself right now is pursuing music, it also does not mean that you have to pursue music for a career. My husband is someone who also inspired me. He is a school teacher, a math teacher by day, but by night he's one of the most committed and passionate musician I've ever seen. Oh my God, just thinking about that actually makes me feel emotional. Because to see that he has a busy day at work, but to come home and enjoy music and practice for hours and hours for the love of it makes me so excited to see. It's like, this is what community music can do. So, whether or not we choose to have music as a career, music will be in a part of our lives. So keep loving it and don't let that pressure bog us down.
That's great. That's so beautiful that you talk about all the different ways that music has brought a lot of love in your life, and I think that's really awesome.
I remember seeing this Venn diagram of what vocation is. Vocation is, perhaps your passion, your hobby, your career, what you're good at doing, what makes you money, and then if all of those little bubbles kind of connect together and intersect, that is your vocation. And I remember just feeling so blessed and grateful that I actually have a job that is my hobby, is something I'm good at, is something I care about, and I love so deeply. So finding that vocation, whatever it is, it can be music, it can be not music, it can be something more streamlined within the music. For me, is choir, and it's really exciting and exhilarating.
It's very nice, and you've traveled a lot. Last year you went to Thailand.
Yeah.
Tell us about all of your travel. We'd love to hear that. It's just so exciting.
Thank you. Thanks for asking. I want to put it out there. I want to travel more. I want to bring music more to different places, but also learn from different cultures. In Chinese, in Cantonese, there's a saying I love so much. It's called your journey is you're gonna help me.
Yes.
My English is not very, my Chinese is not very good anymore. 讀萬卷書不如行萬里路. So 讀萬卷書不如行萬里路, meaning reading 10,000 chapters of books will never compare to walking 10,000 miles. Kind of loosely translated that.
It's very accurate.
Thank you. It's like, whew, I can still speak Cantonese. So just seeing the world and exploring different cultures through choral music just give you better perspective. And we're in Toronto, we're in North America, which we're often talking about diversity, inclusivity, equity of music, and how do we make sure that we are culturally responsive, but without getting outside of our country. We are just learning through, thankfully there's YouTube and Spotify and all of those, but you need to go and experience that. So choosing to explore more freelance work now that I'm doing a little bit more of that, I want to take an opportunity to see more of the world through choral music. And being in Thailand was really cool. I was housed in an international school, so the school was filled with students of all different backgrounds, and to see what connect to them, we ended up doing repertoire that has some Chinese influence, but Asian influences, but I also bring some Canadian connection to that. And the students get so excited. It's a way for them to connect to their root. We did a piece by my good friend Dr. Tracy Wong, who's Malaysian Canadian. So she's Southeast Asian, to bring a Southeast Asian composer to Thailand. That was really exciting. I did a piece in Cantonese by a Hong Kong composer as well, and it had both Cantonese and English, and it was really cool to see different diversity students experience and explore that. So my goal, my short-term goal is this year I get to see a little bit more Canada. So I was at University of Regina in Saskatchewan earlier this year. Later this year I will have a chance to be in Windsor. My hope, I haven't been to all the provinces in Canada yet. So I hope that I will continue to take the choral music and my skills to different provinces, but also learn from everyone.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic experiences, like completing the map and
Yeah,
also
okay.
explore the world with your passion. That's really amazing. So speaking of like all these experiences, do you have any like behind the scenes surprises, like to tell our audiences that you can share that's so surprising for us to know something that's behind the scenes?
Wow, Jeremy, that's a hard question, but it's a great question. Well, I'll try to start with a more serious one, and then I'm gonna go with a lighter one later. Okay, I think it came to mind. So with Babel, we are trying a lot of, as I said, different cultural music. And I know that sometimes we are afraid to program music of different cultures, because it's like, well, I'm Cantonese, I don't know Japanese, like I shouldn't be doing it. It almost feels a little scary to program it. Or we also did something in Tagalog. But then behind the scene is when I have a chance to bring these singers to come and coach, or bring these people of different culture to come and coach, they all said the same thing. As they approach. So shout out to Danley, shout out to Shahiro, shout out to Tracy. When all of these people come and do the music, and whoever in Babel, the first thing they say is, thank you for programming music of our culture. And I would say the same as well. One of the things I want to see, I've now been in Canada for over 20 years. Oh my God, for longer than you guys have been born. And I want to say, like, I still get moved to tears when I see choirs learning different music that connect to my culture. And I want to see more of that. So that's the behind the scene, is that gratitude is so immense. And I really want to encourage more people, not just in choral music, but, if you're a piano major, if you're a voice major, if you play different instruments, explore music that is gonna help you connect with different cultures. Now, don't just do it. We're in Toronto. We're so lucky that it's so multicultural. Find someone, get to know about their cultures through that music. So that's a little bit of behind the scene. The second behind the scenes story is something I'm going to remember for a very long time. When I was in Thailand last year, I talked to a lot of different classes. I remember there was a grade 6 student, a quiet boy, and he put up his hand, and it took him a little bit to put up his hand. He's like, so Dr. Choi, how did you become a conductor? And the second part of this question was what was taking my breath away. And he's like, what got in your way? I'm like, whew, it's a profound question for grade 6. And I think, first of all, I'm very, very lucky. And I have to say, we are very lucky for the generation before us of female leaders, female conductors that have paved the path for female conductors, and also diverse conductors. We have a lot of conductors here. But I'll say growing up, I will look at picture books of music, and conductors always look like this bigger guy in tuxedo, somehow always have a mustache. They always have a mustache. And holding a baton, with their chest held up high on a high podium, like standing like that. And I just look at that picture. You probably can think of that. And I just think of that as, that's not me.
Mm-hmm.
I don't wear a tuxedo. I will never grow a mustache. I don't think I can. I hope I can't. I don't see myself standing in a podium holding a baton like that. I want to stand on the ground and make music with all of you. So I think that stereotype of singing in the picture book really got in my way a little bit. I'm like, that's just not me. And I really hope that eventually, maybe some illustrator out there will start drawing conductors and players and musicians in different lens, So that's a little bit of behind the scene too. I have one more little funny but maybe a little sad story. Is as an immigrant to Canada, it's a funny thing when you've been in Canada for 20 plus years. And Jeremy, you might see that in the future, I don't know. But it's like, I speak Cantonese, Mandarin, and English, but it's getting to the point that I'm like, I don't really speak any of those languages fluently, it feels like.
I get it.
Right?
I really get it.
Yeah, and you've only been here for a year. It's like already your Cantonese is like, you don't practice it, you don't speak more of that anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So I remember when I was your age, before choral conducting, I always knew that I will be in music. I always knew that. I thought I was going to be a music teacher, and in hindsight, I'm still a music teacher. I wanted to be a kindergarten teacher for a very long time because I really love little kids. But my insecurity of being an ESL person really got in my way. I was so worried somehow that my accent will rub off on the children and that I won't be able to teach them proper English because I don't speak perfect English. Now, this is probably 15 years ago that I thought that, and now, to be honest, I think, who speaks perfect English, right? Like, is there perfect English? And I just remember that behind the scene of a thought of that, like, I can't speak English perfectly. I went back to Hong Kong to work. I can't speak Cantonese in a professional way either. It's like, who am I? But then I think, there are so much communication and connection that transcends over language. It's not just, you don't just use words. I think the person that really inspired me was seeing Samira Polos, who is from Kazakhstan. And I remember seeing her work with the Hamilton Children's Choir a long time ago, that she would struggle a little bit using words to describe, but she built this wonderful rapport with the students that they can help each other out and they just understand each other. And that was the time that I'm like, aha, I have an accent when I speak English, but so what? It is part of my identity that I'm now very, very proud of. So I'm sorry, I completely went far away from your question. But these are some of the behind the scenes thoughts that I often have.
Yeah, I think it's a very mental game to performance and teaching, and it goes hand in hand. And I don't think a lot of people often take it for granted when you're processing in a different language. I can understand how it feels to, I'm first generation Canadian, so I feel sometimes that you're in an in-between place when you go back to visit family and to have, like, both my parents are from different countries, so English was the connector.
Yeah.
So I get that, like, okay, who am I as a performer, and what does that mean? So I love that you brought that up, because I think a lot of educators who are immigrants who are coming here to teach in Canada and who will be our teachers in the classrooms. That's so impactful. So thank you for saying that.
No problem. Yeah, don't let that be a hindrance, because I know that, you know, we are all passionate, and our passion is gonna trump the language barrier or whatever barrier that we have.
Definitely.
Yes. What sort of events do you have coming up? So our people can go to these events. I know a lot of choral lovers. How can they support you, and how can they go and see some of the upcoming shows you have?
Oh, that's very kind of you to ask. So we're recording now in mid-November, and I am just looking at my schedule. There's so much in December going on. So almost every weekend there are going to be concerts thrown by Timothy Eaton and Pax Christi Chorale. Babel will be performing as well. So I will say the best way to keep in touch is I'm always happy to connect via Instagram. My professional account is at Dr. Elaine Choi, and message me anytime, and I'll always make sure to repost. I'm gonna do a little sneak peek, because December, yes, there's a lot of concerts, but there are some really exciting things happening in the new year. So connect with me. There might be some opportunities that PAX is going to do that will offer opportunities for young conductors, young choral composers, and young emerging choral accompanist, pianist, which I'm really excited about. I've been thinking a little bit about putting together sessions where like-minded individuals can chat about music, like what we're having right now, having a tea party, and just talk about careers and about you know, actual working field in music, doing that. I know there are a couple of visiting choirs from outside of the country coming to Toronto in May. I'm gonna say that right now, that's all I can say at this moment. One from the Philippines, one from Colombia. So if you can't go to these countries, these choirs are coming here, and I'm gonna have a chance to work with them and also hope to promote their work as well. So it's really hard to pinpoint because there's so much going on. Yeah.
That's amazing. Well, I'm excited. So I'll be sure to keep an eye out for those dates and to check out your...
Stay tuned on social media.
Yes, on social
Exactly.
media.
Anytime, just connect.
Thank you so much, Elaine, for having this
Thank
chat
you.
with us.
Thank you.
And
Thank you, Charity.
Thank you, Charity
for having
Shen, for co-hosting today's episode. And we really look forward to bringing this to all of you. So thank you again.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.